Coach's Corner is brought to you by Capital Investment Advisory Services. Hello and welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. My name is Mitch Stewart, and joined alongside of me here is Dawgs head coach Dan Brimner. Dan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for joining me again here for another episode.
Yeah, of course, man. You got it.
So we'll look back at the last few weeks since the last time we got a chance to chat with each other. Splits in Fayetteville, and then this past weekend down in Macon. In Macon specifically, you guys were a little bit short-handed, a couple of guys unavailable to you all. How does your approach change when you have some guys that are out of the lineup, and how did you think the team reacted to that little bit of adversity?
Yeah, we were definitely short heading down, and then we had a couple bodies that we signed just for the weekend, and the approach is looking for a big start. We talked about it both games, trying to get out there and get a lead. Obviously, playing with a lead and then being able to manage the clock was the goal for us. Both nights we didn't see the quick start that we wanted. Ton of credit. I was really proud of our guys over the weekend playing short like that. We've been the last 2-3 weekends we've been missing key bodies, leadership roles, and we've had a ton of guys step up. And we had some guys on the back end. Saturday's game we had we were playing 4D, so every guy was back and forth, double shifting back and forth the whole night. So obviously we didn't come out with the win that night, but a gutsy weekend for our guys.
Well, fortunately, you do get a lot of those unavailable players back for you all this weekend. You touched a bit on the leadership. Josh Nenadal comes back from 6 games away on the injured reserve list, and then Brant Sherwood's 4-game suspension is completed. How much of an impact does it make to have 2 leaders, 2 alternate captains that play with a lot of passion back out there on the ice for you guys?
Oh, it's huge. And Nenadal is a different case. An injury, did it blocking a shot because, that's what Nenadal does. He's a heart and soul guy. He's going to do those things for us all the time. And that's part of, you just understand that's going to happen through a season, that we're going to miss a guy like that because he plays so hard. Sherwood, getting him back is huge as well. He was a big point producer for us before he left, and like you said, the passion, the fire that he brings. But I think it was a learning moment for him too, and we've had a bunch of conversations since, and he's got to find that line because we need Brant Sherwood in the lineup. We look at the last 2 weekends, even just missing those 4 games. Easily could be a difference maker to get us over the hump in that overtime game against Fayetteville. And no doubt he could have been a difference maker this past weekend too. And that's three standing points that we missed out on. That I'm not putting all on Sherwood, but I think if we have a healthy Brant Sherwood in the lineup there, that could be the difference right there. So I think he's taken it as a bit of a learning moment too, and he's kind of like reflected on it and how he has to be effective for this team.
Well, a guy that has been making a difference here recently, Austin Rodebush, seems like he's finally starting to hit his stride a little bit. Had a great series in Fayetteville 2 weekends ago, and then got his first shutout win of the season in that 3-0 victory over Macon this past Friday night. How important is it for him to kind of start heating up at this point in the season when you really start hitting the meat of your schedule?
Yeah, we're just over a quarter of the way in the season, and just, Rhodey did play last year, which some guys did, some guys didn't, but regardless, guys take different amount of time to kind of dial it in, and sometimes goalies are kind of forgotten in that, where it's like, it takes a forward a certain amount of time to kind of get into game mid-season form. Whereas Rhodey, I think he's been constantly building in the right direction. You talk about going into the last weekend short and game plan and stuff. Well, something that's not really talked about as a game plan, but it's like, hey, Rhodey, play a hell of a game is what we needed. And our guys were obviously sluggish, short bodies, whether there's some sicknesses going on through the team last week, and you could see we were sluggish, and early on they definitely saw Macon got some chances, and Rhodey on that Friday night was just lights out. They didn't get a sniff, and well deserved to get his first shutout, and I'm expecting with better team support more to come.
Chris Velo seemed like a guy from opening night that really kind of brings that hard work ethic, that grittiness up front that you all really need. But recently it's been the offensive production that's kind of taken a bit of an uptick for him. What do you think has led to that recent difference in production where he's kind of starting to find some goals and beating around the net a little bit more?
Yeah, Vela, it's been awesome to watch. So he was referred obviously from Stubbs and DeVito, who I had already recruited, and they just said, he's a guy who's going to come in and do anything needed. And I think it took him, 6, 7, 8 games to understand what was needed. And I don't remember what weekend it was, but we talked to him about that he needs to be a nuisance out there. He has to be, other teams have to really dislike playing him. And it wasn't about getting points. It was about him finishing every check. It was about him doing the little bit extra that teams don't like to play against. Like whenever he's lining up, the other center should be like, oh man, I got to play up against this guy again. And it was like a flip of a switch that weekend. He went out there and he was a menace. Like guys, he was chasing everything. He was going after everybody. And when you're doing that and you're doing the right things all the time, it changed his game. He got a little bit more aggressive, and now the point production is kind of following. And I mean, he's got a hell of a shot. He's got a heavy shot. And it's been awesome to see that evolution through the first quarter of the season here, from not really knowing his place to really like embracing his role. And I am pumped to have him and Nenadal going to be on a line this weekend. And I think the two of them, you can put them with anybody, and that's going to be that line where doesn't matter who's going out there, they're going to see facing off against them, and you're just going to be like, oh my God, these guys again.
Well, you mentioned being a bit of a nuisance. Here's a sentence that I think makes a lot of SPHL coaches around the league cringe a little bit. Matt O'Day and Brady Hepner on the penalty kill. Those guys have been spectacular. It seems like when they're on the ice trying to kill off a penalty, they're creating more shorthanded chances than the opposing power play unit is getting on your net. What do you think makes that pair work so well together, and do you think that we should expect to see that duo on the ice together on the PK moving forward?
Maybe. As far as a duo, I mean, first, what makes him so dangerous is just flat out speed. I mean, Heps, I always say, is like a buzzsaw. Like he's got that shiftiness and just quickness to him. And then Matty O'Day is just flat out speed, man. He's such a good skater. And when you say nuisance, when we talk about being a nuisance too, it's that relentless pursuit of the puck. Like you can beat them, but you're gonna have to beat them again and again and again in the same shift because they're gonna turn around, they're gonna chase you. You can beat them, they're gonna chase you back. You're gonna have to beat them again, and it's awesome to watch. And they're getting rewarded too. Heps, Matty's been getting on the scoreboard quite a bit. Heps is a guy where, it's hard to even give him any advice because he's getting frustrated with some missing some scoring opportunities, and it's just like you look at him and it's just like, keep doing what you're doing. It's got to go. He's creating a ton of opportunities, and it's just not falling for him. I feel like he's a guy that as soon as it goes, we're going to see numbers from Heps over and over, and it's going to be repeatable. So I'm excited for him, the two of them going forward.
Well, you have Evansville coming to town this week after a bit of a break away from Berglund Center. You all earned a split with them back in the middle of November. What are you kind of taking from that series a few weeks back and into this series this weekend when you have them for the weekend doubleheader?
Yeah, it's funny when you say a few weeks back. Like that already feels like so long ago this season. Like the bodies that we've been missing, and just the way the year's gone, it already feels long. But that felt like it was still so new. Everybody's finding their identity. You're talking about a guy like Vela, who I think he got his first goal that weekend, and was still really figuring himself out. And we have so many guys now that are kind of embracing their role on the team. I'm pumped every weekend going forward. As opposed to that weekend, I just expect us to know our identity a little bit better. Obviously, we're going to look back. There's some tendencies that Evansville has that I think other teams don't show as much. I mean, I think that first weekend we probably gave up about 6 to 8 clean-cut breakaways against, and it's something that's going to be a focus for us. Like that is just way too many. We have goals on how many odd man rushes we want to allow, but breakaways alone just can't be happening like that. So there's ways that we're going to be looking to tighten up against them. But as far as our play, just looking, really excited to be coming home with a full roster. The guys this week in practice have had a ton of energy, and it gets me excited. I got energy going into it, so I think it's going to be a big weekend for us.
Well, I'm sure they'll be buzzed, and to have everybody back, everybody healthy. Dan, thanks so much for joining me here today on Coach's Corner.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mitch.
The Dawgs are back on the ice this weekend at Berglund Center. Friday night is Hockey is for Everyone night here in Roanoke, and Saturday night, the annual Teddy Bear Toss game. The team will be wearing specialty jerseys, so make sure you stick around for the jersey auction after the game. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for future episodes of Coach's Corner.
Coach's Corner is brought to you by Capital Investment Advisory Services,